Los Angeles is one of the most expensive markets in the country, and everybody knows that going in. But here's what most people don't realize. Not all of that price tag is justified. There are parts of this city where you are paying a premium, not because the lifestyle actually delivers it, but because the name is putting a premium on the price itself. The zip code, the reputation, the stories and posts that you see on Instagram, these are all elevating and showing a lifestyle that may not actually exist for the price tag that you're paying for it. The social media version of many of these neighborhoods has very little to do with what Tuesday morning coffee really feels like inside of a specific area. I've been selling luxury real estate in Los Angeles for years, and I can tell you this confidently. Some of the most sought after areas in the city offer more buyer's remorse than results. And it almost always comes down to the same thing: what people thought they were buying and what people actually got. So today I'm gonna show you the 5 areas where I'm seeing the biggest gaps right now in April of 2026, and give you an honest picture before you make a multi-million-dollar investment into an area that offers a lot of promises but little results. Number 4 is gonna be the one that catches you off guard the most, so let's get into it. But before we do, I'm Eddie Fala, a luxury real estate agent right here in Los Angeles, and I've been doing real estate for the last 12 years in the luxury market. If you're thinking about buying, selling, or even leasing a home, please reach out to me. All of my information is in the description below, but let's get into number 1, Manhattan Beach. And look, I get it. When people picture their dream life in Southern California, they're thinking of Manhattan Beach right in front of the water, right in front of the beach, going to the beach every single day. It's gorgeous, it's walkable, the schools are legitimate, and if you're right there on the water, it checks every box. But here's where it really gets interesting. Manhattan Beach is actually 2 completely different markets. And a lot of buyers don't realize this until they actually move over there, and then they're kind of shocked, they're caught off guard. On one side, you got the walk streets. Those are your narrow pedestrian alleys that feature homes that could range anywhere from $6 million to $12 million on what they call the Strand. These are the ones that you're seeing on magazine spreads and Architectural Digest. These are the premium homes in Manhattan Beach. And honestly, if you're paying $9 million to literally walk out your front door onto sand, there's logic to it. That I understand. But then you've got everything else. The tree section, the hills section. These are some lots that are between 4,500 to 5,500 square feet, trading from anywhere between $3.5 million up to $5 million. These are a solid 10 to 20 minute walk away from the beach, and most of them are featuring 1-car garages. And what you're really buying over there is the zip code and the school zone, which I understand has some value, but I still think it's very overpriced. The beach is a nice weekend thing, but it's not your backyard in these areas. At the same $5 million price point, you could be on a huge parcel of land in Palos Verdes with actual ocean views and very good walkability, or a newer build in Calabasas, or something genuinely luxurious in parts of Brentwood. The value comparison gets pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly when you run these side by side. And here's something that I want buyers to understand specifically about the Manhattan Beach market. It's a narrow market. The buyer pool for a $4 million house in the tree section is there, but it's very shallow. And when the market softens, and all markets do soften, these are the areas that get affected the hardest. I've seen sellers in Manhattan Beach wait 9, 10, 12 months for their homes to sell at way below asking. There are only so many buyers that want that specific niche product at that elevated of a price. So if you're buying with a shorter time horizon that you think you're gonna be in the house, it's really something I want you to think about. So who's Manhattan Beach really for? Honestly, if your kids are in the MBUSD school district and you plan on going to the beach multiple times a week, it completely makes sense, I get it. But you gotta plan to stay for at least a decade if you want this investment to pay off, if you're not gonna be right on the beach. I'm not here to talk you out of it. I'm just here to make sure that you make a prudent investment based on the timeline that works best for you and your family. If it's a short-term investment, it may not pay off in the near future, but you may have to sit on it for a little while to see the monetary gains. Number 2 is Silver Lake. This one is very fascinating to me because it captures a very specific type of buyer. Usually someone relocating from New York, Chicago, Austin, who's heard it described as LA's Brooklyn. And they're not entirely wrong. It's dense, it's got a creative scene, a great art scene, it's got the coffee shops, it's got the energy. I completely understand the appeal. But there's a few things in Silver Lake that are happening right now that I want buyers to understand before they completely fall in love with it. The reservoir is not what you think it is. So much of Silver Lake's identity is built around the reservoir. People picture a lake. People picture a morning walk around the water and a lifestyle that surrounds everything that has to do with it. Here's the reality. The Silver Lake Reservoir is a water treatment facility run by the DWP. You can walk around it, it's actually a pretty nice loop, but you cannot swim in it, you cannot kayak in it, and you cannot interact with it the same way that listing photos that you see on the MLS would imply you can. And the homes that actually have a reservoir view, that's really only 10 to 15% of the homes that are on the market at any given time. The rest of Silver Lake is hillside bungalows, some with great views, some with not so great views, and almost all of them are built in the 1930s or 40s. They photograph beautifully. They really do. But as a developer, I can tell you what's behind those walls is a completely different conversation. What the inspection report is actually gonna look like. This is where Silver Lake buyers get the most surprised. Knob and tube wiring, galvanized pipes, no central HVAC, foundation issues on hillside lots that you may speak to an inspector will tell you is a $20,000, $30,000 fix, but a real structural engineer can tell you that can cost you anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. You get lots that have been graded and regraded over the decades and soil reports that are required. Unpermitted additions from the 1970s that were fine until the LADBS came knocking on your door letting you know that you have an unpermitted space that needs to get legalized. On a significant portion of these older Silver Lake properties, this is actually the standard, not a rarity. I typically tell buyers on a $1.4 million Silver Lake home purchase, you have to budget for between $150,000 to $200,000 in immediate repairs to make the home safe for you to move your family in. And at that point, you're not just buying a home, you're getting yourself into a project. And that's okay for some buyers, but I just want you to know what you're getting yourself into. And the vibe has already moved east. There's a cultural piece to Silver Lake, which is harder to quantify, but it's real. The creative energy that made Silver Lake what it was peaked a few years ago. The money came in, prices went up, and the demographics started to change. The artists who made Silver Lake as unique as it was started moving east because they got pushed out. To Highland Park, to Glassell Park, El Sereno, Mount Washington. That's how LA works. Much of LA's creative communities are on a cyclical cycle where once they get found out, a lot of money comes in, and the people that made the community as unique as it was start getting pushed further and further east. Culture typically migrates to where rent is still affordable. If you're buying in Silver Lake in 2026 for the cultural aspect of it, that culture has already moved on east. The leading edge has already passed you by. Number 3. Venice. Venice, Venice, Venice. I'll be honest, this one, I have a complicated relationship with this neighborhood because there are moments in Venice that are genuinely magic. The canals in the morning are beautiful. Abbot Kinney is such a vibrant and electric street, still full of young culture that I love to partake in. The beach is right there. I get it completely. But I've seen a lot of buyers fall in love with a Saturday afternoon in Venice when they saw the home and then spend the next year wondering what happened to that first day that I spent here in this community. You're paying Beverly Hills money for a very different version of life. Venice is trading at median prices above $2 million, with a lot of the pockets reaching about $2.5 million. For that, you're typically getting somewhere between 1,400 to 2,000 square feet on a lot that itself might be 2,500 square feet. No garage or a one-car garage with absolutely no parking anywhere nearby. Parking is a genuinely daily battle with tons of tourists that are there for the beach. And that's not the kind of inconvenience that you just one day wake up and get used to. It's real and it will affect you for a very long time or as long as you're there. The boardwalk, which is one of the biggest selling points of Venice, has had real quality of life issues and it's been well documented for plenty of years now. It has been a policy conversation that still to this day has not been fully resolved. And the density, the noise, the foot traffic, the street traffic, the tourists from May through September, it's a lot more intense than one simple Saturday afternoon visit would suggest. And I want to talk about Abbot Kinney. Here's what I tell buyers all the time. Abbot Kinney is real. It has real culture. It has a real electric vibe to it. But being near Abbot Kinney and living on Abbot Kinney are two completely different animals. Most of what's for sale in Venice at the $2 million price point is a 10 to 15 minute walk from Abbot Kinney through some very variable blocks. The address says Venice, but the actual day-to-day varies greatly depending on which pocket you end up in. I always tell people, walk your specific blocks at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday and see what that feels like, not on the weekend. Then walk it again at 9 p.m. on a Friday. The gap between those two experiences is what you're actually experiencing in your day-to-day life. If you love both versions, then Venice is for you. It might be the perfect place for you. If only one of those versions gives you a pause, I want you to think really hard before you invest millions of dollars into living there. And let's dive into the investment reality. Venice's big appreciation run-up has already happened. The transformation between what it was in the 80s and 90s and what it is today has already profited and benefited a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that it's continuing on an upward trajectory until the end of time. It's already priced in. You're not getting in at the ground floor, you're getting in at the top level. You're buying at a peak in multiple neighborhoods in Venice that features some very structural headwinds that are currently ongoing. That's just the honest read that I have on it right now. Number 4 is Playa Vista. Now, a few years ago, Playa Vista was not on anybody's radar, but now it really is on everybody's radar. And I did promise that this one would surprise you. It's not glamorous. It's not a neighborhood that you're gonna read in the headlines or see people boasting and bragging about having luxury homes in. It's not what comes to mind when you think about overpriced LA. And that's exactly why it's on this list. Because with the flashy neighborhoods, people go in knowing exactly what they're paying for. They know the zip code, the 90210 that they're gonna be paying for. With Playa Vista, the common perception is still that buyers are getting a reasonable price in a undervalued West Side neighborhood that still offers plenty of the benefits that you would get in a Marina del Rey or Santa Monica next door. And then they close on the escrow and the monthly mortgage payment hits their bank account and they go, wait, how am I paying this much to live in this area? Well, here's a fee structure that's not in the listing price. Playa Vista is a master plan development built in the early 2000s on the old Hughes aircraft site, which, fun fact, was wetlands before that. And before it was developed, it was structured with a layered fee system that was set up to fund the infrastructure needed to be able to create a community there. Now, this fee also covers the amenities, the community planning, everything, and it's in perpetuity, meaning most properties carry 2 separate HOAs, a neighborhood level HOA and a master community HOA stacked on top of it. Combined, these can range anywhere from $500 to $900 a month depending on the unit. Then you've got the Mellow Roos. Mellow Roos is a special assessment, which was a bond issued to fund the original development of the community that the buyers absorb on a per property basis going into the sale. On a typical Playa Vista townhome, this fee can range anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a year. And that's on top of your original property tax. And it doesn't stop there. Some properties also carry a community enhancement fee on top of everything we just talked about. And that's paid at closing. It's a percentage of the purchase price that goes directly back into the community, which is the master HOA, on every single transaction. Add it all up on a $1.5 million purchase, and buyers are paying anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 a month into these fees that you wouldn't be paying anywhere else. That's on top of your mortgage. That's on top of your property taxes. And it's a meaningful number. And a lot of people don't start running the math on that until they're already in contract and the clock is ticking until they have to remove their contingencies. So let's talk about the Silicon Beach concentration risk. Playa Vista was built around Silicon Beach. Google, YouTube, Amazon Studios, Snapchat, major tech footprints are all within walking or biking distance. If you work in tech, the commute is genuinely great. I'll give you that. But that also means that the buyer pool is heavily concentrated in one industry. And we've seen what can happen to an area if tech begins having a rough year or a rough 5 years or maybe a rough decade. The 2022 and 2023 layoff cycles hit Playa Vista harder than any community here in Los Angeles. Because when the primary demand drivers, which is people who work in tech, start to get laid off and start leaving the community, everybody suffers. It's not a reason to never buy there, but it's a reason for you to know what you're buying into. So what do we look at instead? Well, if you're looking to be on the West Side specifically, walkable, newer construction without carrying this absurd fee structure, Culver City is worth a serious look right now. Parts of West LA and Mar Vista also give you more house, more lot, and more community history. There's also flexibility in these areas. Playa Vista only really looks like a deal on paper until you start running the monthly numbers. And last, but certainly not least, number 5 is Malibu. I want to be careful here because Malibu is a very tricky one. When you can genuinely afford Malibu, it's one of the most remarkable places on planet Earth. I've been in those homes. I've sold a lot of those homes. I've sat for hours on those decks looking out onto the Pacific. It's magical. The dream is completely real. But I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't actually explain to you what has changed in Malibu over the last couple of years. Because the math is very different from what it was even 5 years ago. And some buyers are finding that out even after they've already closed on their home. The insurance situation is not a small thing. Let's start here because it's catching buyers off guard, and typically insurance is not something that comes up until you're pretty much done with your inspection contingencies and you're just waiting for your loan. Home insurance in Malibu has become a genuine crisis. Multiple major carriers have already packed their bags and moved out of LA altogether, but especially Malibu. And they've stopped writing policies on extremely high risk fire zones. This includes most of Malibu. The ones that are still operating are charging premiums that are way above the roof. These premiums would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. We're talking $25,000, $35,000, sometimes even $40,000 or more on some of these Malibu homes. And in some cases, even the existing Malibu homeowners are getting dropped and forced to look for some of these policies elsewhere, which they're not ready for. This leaves the California FAIR Plan, typically known as the last resort of insurers here in California. It covers fire, but it's not a full replacement like a standard homeowner's insurance policy would give you. It leaves people effectively self-insuring on assets worth $5 million, $10, $15 million or above. And that's happening right now. It's real in Malibu. April 2026, you're getting people who have no insurance on assets of $15 million or more. And it has to be a part of the conversation before you go into any contract with a realtor on a home in Malibu. The January 2025 fires reinforced what a lot of people already knew about Malibu, which is buying into an area with extremely high fire risk. Now that's not a once in a generation type event. I'm sorry to tell you. It's a recurring reality that stretches a lot of the coastline in that area. And any decision to buy there has to factor it in very carefully. And then there's the infrastructure side. Most of Malibu is on septic, not city sewer. Septic maintenance, inspections, and compliance are entirely on the homeowner in Malibu. And in the coastal zones, these compliance requirements have tightened substantially in these areas. And in coastal zones, the compliance requirements have tightened substantially over the past few years. It's not a deal breaker, but it is an extra cost and a responsibility that many of the homeowners that come from other parts of LA aren't ready for or are not used to. And so it's something that you should know before you make the move to Malibu. And then of course there's the PCH. Traffic is everybody's favorite subject in Los Angeles. It's one road in and it's one road out. On a normal day, completely fine. On a day with an accident, with high surf, with PCH elevation. On a weekend with an accident, or with high surf or a fire evacuation, it becomes a nightmare. People joke about the PCH commute right up until they actually have to go through it. Most people can't handle it for a day. Now, I want you to try imagining handling it for several years. So who's Malibu actually for? It's for people who genuinely have the real numbers to sustain a luxurious life in Malibu. People who have the financial cushion to absorb the elevated insurance rates and can properly insure these homes, and people who are planning to live there long term with full awareness of the high risks that are associated with owning a home in Malibu. It's not for people who are stretching their budget to get there. The people who get burned in Malibu are almost always the people that bought the dream but weren't financially ready for it, and they got burned later on when they realized how much Malibu actually asks of them. The details of Malibu do not wait for your budget. So there you go. Manhattan Beach, Playa Vista, Venice, Silver Lake, and Malibu. 5 areas that dominate the Los Angeles real estate conversation, but also 5 areas that have a real sizable gap between the idea and what you're actually getting value-wise. And look, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I'm not saying these are bad places to live. They're not. There are people in every single one of these areas that absolutely love and relish living in these neighborhoods. These people wouldn't trade it for anything. And honestly, good for them, to each their own. I genuinely mean that. Different people want completely different things out of LA. That's what makes this city so special, so magical. There's a version of Los Angeles for almost everybody. All I'm saying is go in with your eyes wide open. Don't buy a dream, buy reality. Know what you're paying for, know what you're actually getting, and know what you're getting yourself into. Make sure the life that you're buying matches the lifestyle that you actually want to live. You work hard for your money. You want to make sure that that money is providing the things that you want it to out of this life. And that's what I'm here for. I'm Eddie Fala, your Los Angeles area real estate expert. If you're buying, if you're selling, or looking to lease, please reach out to me. My information is in the description below. I'm available to you 7 days a week, and I would love to have a conversation about any area that you have on your mind. I'd like to help you find the right place, not just a place that looked great in the photos or on Zillow. I'm a developer. I'm a real estate nerd. I research every area in Los Angeles every single day. I love what I do. And I've been an agent for the last 13 years. And I gotta tell you, I have saved a lot of my clients from moving into lifestyles that didn't suit them. And if this video even gave you one thing to think about before you make that call, please hit subscribe below. I put out content like this every single week, and I love to share it with all of you. Thank you for watching. I'll see you on the next video. And please let me know in the comments below if you want me to cover any other specific areas here in Los Angeles.